Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Trevor Lane. You can find me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane, joined by Keith Smith at Keith Smith NBA. Keith, how are you doing? Are you ready for the weekend? Almost here.
Yeah, I mean, I am actually. Our daughter's doing the soccer conditioning program thing, so we did that. And while she was doing that, we got groceries done. So, man, the to-do list is looking pretty clean this weekend. I don't know what we're going to get into, but might be a nice little Saturday. I don't know, but I don't know if there'll be time for Home Depot. We'll see.
Maybe Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know if we'll have time.
We might not. We'll find out.
It's
a great movie. Yeah, absolutely.
In any event, yeah, this has been the day of getting stuff. I've been getting a lot of different chores, and probably because my wife is coming home tomorrow, so I've been getting a lot of things done around the house today and making sure that I was on top of things. But I tell you what, so I had these last few days, I've had my Home Alone experience, my Kevin McAllister. Next week, so my wife gets back into town Saturday night, and then she flies out Sunday morning for work, and she's going to be gone most of the week.
Wow.
And so then it's going to be me and the kiddo all week. Man. So I'm going to be living a very different life week to week.
Really?
That's for sure.
That's crazy. Now, here's the big question before we get into basketball. Did you finish Ms. Marvel?
I did.
Yeah. What did you think?
Can we give away? I don't know if I want to give away the ending.
Yeah, we probably should.
You know what I mean?
Well, we should probably at least hold a little bit, but good show though, right?
It was very good. I liked it. I thought it was I'll tell you what, my complaint is minor. I thought when she used her powers and then the other guy used his powers too, when they're like projecting the energy or whatever, I wasn't super happy with the CGI on that. It looked a little dated or something, but that's a very, very minor complaint. Overall, I thought it was
tough for the TV shows to meet the CGI quality of the movies.
What it is.
Yeah, we get so used to what they pump into those movies, and then it's like the TV show taking a step back a little bit there. So yeah, and I see that they are talking about some stuff, it looks like, at Comic-Con. So that's been kind of cool. I haven't checked since I've been home if any new kind of news broke from there, but yeah, there was definitely some interesting stuff coming out, and they saved some of their stuff for their thing, D23, but the animated X-Men show looks kind of cool. I think that's gonna be fun. So, but we should probably talk about basketball.
I guess
we'll do some MCU stuff on another day, I guess.
That's right.
Tomorrow's the big Marvel panel, I guess. So we'll really find out the good.
Can't wait to hear all the interesting stuff from that one. Things will be probably juicy, but let's talk Lakers Pacers. So according to various sources, Bob Kravitz, I believe, was the first one who had this from The Athletic, that the Lakers and Pacers he said trade talks are dead, and then said, but they're not really, basically. Essentially where we're at, from what everybody has chimed in, Mark Stein chimed in with this and everything, but essentially where the trade talks are at right now is the Lakers are offering Russell Westbrook and a first-round pick for Buddy Hield and Myles Turner. The Pacers say they want Russell Westbrook and 2 first-round picks for Buddy Hield and Myles Turner, and that's where it's at this moment. So, Keith, what's your take on those trade negotiations and kind of where this is ultimately heading? Obviously, I've got my thoughts on it because I've been covering it all day for the Lakers, but where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I think if you're the Lakers, this is, I know when we talked the other day, just Buddy Hield, it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but your feeling was like, that's a little bit too much. And eventually I kind of came around to Russ and 2 picks for Buddy Hield that's probably too much. Russ and 2 picks for Buddy Hield and Myles Turner, that probably puts you a tier up in the Western Conference, I think, because then you're probably going into the season with a starting lineup that looks something like Turner, Davis, LeBron, Hield, and Kendrick Nunn. I don't know, plug in whoever, right? And into that 5th spot. I think probably maybe Kendrick Nunn, because he's probably the best point guard defender that they'd have left. There, just to have somebody to chase around. It almost kind of doesn't matter. I feel like I'm missing somebody.
I mean, Austin Reeves has been rumored to be getting a look in the
Reeves,
starting lineup. You could, if you want to go size, is Stanley Johnson. There's a few different guys.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different things. And functionally on the offensive end, LeBron's going to be your point guard. You're going to run most of the offense through him. It's more defensively. You just need to make sure you have somebody who can change. It's more the kind of little quick speedy point guards, right? The bigger ones you're not overly worried about. You'll mix and match and figure that out. It's the small quick guys that who's going to chase Stephen Curry around, right? Like that's what you need is more of a true point guard there. So I think I would do it if it was Turner and Hield, 2 picks and Russ, because for me, I get it. Who knows what that'll look like, 4, 5, 6 years down the line. But I think your challenge is I want to maximize my LeBron window, whether that be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever that is. I want to keep that window as wide open as I can. And I think this does that. Plus, it also gives you then 2 contracts where if something's not fitting quite right, you could turn around and flip them for something else the time the trade deadline rolls around.
Yeah, there's a lot of Lakers fans that I see that are a firm no on doing Buddy Hield and Myles Turner. And I'm definitely not doing that right now. Not while there's a Kyrie Irving out there. Like if I'm going to give up both.
Yeah.
First, I want to make sure the Kyrie Irving thing is dead. Like completely dead and done. I said earlier today on Lakers, I said double tap Zombieland style. That's what it's got to be. In order for me to move on and do this Myles Turner, Buddy Hield thing, because I would rather, and you can tell me if I'm crazy on this, but I would rather do a deal to go get Kyrie Irving, even though there's some headaches that come with that, because I think your ceiling is higher if you do that versus Buddy Hield and Myles Turner.
No, for sure. And Kyrie Irving's the kind of guy where if you have a recurrence of injuries with any one of those guys, I know we kind of had this conversation before with, hey, the idea of LeBron, Russ, and AD is you're always going to have at least one, right?
Yeah.
And that didn't really go so well. But, I mean, I think Kyrie's a different guy we saw at times this year after he was back while KD was still out. He can really still carry the offense and do a lot of things. So, I that part I'm with you on. I would, you got to wait, make sure that that's completely finished. Because, the last thing you would want to do is do this, and it comes out 2 days later, like, well, Kyrie Irving set it off for, a relatively minor return, because that would be really tough. Now, I am 100% against using 2 first-round picks just to dump Russ, because I've seen some people say, well, just get him sent to the Pacers for almost whatever, along with or to the Spurs. That I'm against. That doesn't make sense to me. That's just, that's not a good use of resources. But at that point, just wait it out. If you have to bench him, see if he'll take a buyout, just kind of say, hey, we're moving on. Don't even come to the facility anymore. Kind of like what the Rockets did with John Wall. But if you can get actual talent back, Kyrie would be priority 1 for me. Then right under that, though, Hield and Turner's pretty good, even if the fits are not perfect, right? But you go get those 2 guys, and maybe you sign Dennis Schroeder, and just because I know that seems like that maybe is going to happen, and that just gives you a little bit of depth at the point guard position, and then you figure out the rest of it as you get into the season.
If you had your choice between the 2 and forget contracts completely, just who do you think is the better basketball player, Buddy Hield or Malik Monk? And I'm asking to give you a moment to think about that, because Lakers fans were discussing, like, they had Malik Monk last year. If you sub in Buddy Hield, is that an upgrade? Is that a downgrade? What would be the expectation at that point?
I think it's probably Buddy Hield, but I think it's closer than, like, I wouldn't want to make a snap judgment and say Buddy Hield, but I do think it probably is Buddy Hield. I think I think it's probably him, but it is somewhat close. I think Buddy Hield can do a little bit more on his own as far as getting offense, where I think Malik Monk needs a little bit more help to get his shots, to get his best looks and those kind of things. I think Hield's the kind of guy you can kind of let him lead an offensive unit for 10 minutes a night or something like that, or
Right.
really kind of be the key guy. And I don't know that Monk is necessarily that guy.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I do think that Buddy Hield probably is a bit better. Obviously, contractually, he makes quite a bit more, but something that I've seen going around in Lakers circles, Pacers fans, I'm seeing a lot of fans. Pretty much every other team is saying, no matter what you do, don't help the Lakers. This is helping the Lakers. Like, if you're getting picks, like picks are picks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, you don't care about that if you're the Pacers at this point. It doesn't matter. I mean, I guess I kind of get it if it was like another Western Conference team, but
Sure.
you're also not talking about building a Lakers team that if you're a rebuilding team, there's not going to be, this is not a 5 or 6 year deal where you're like, well, now we just built this monster that we have to deal. Like, this is 2 year, maybe 3 year if you really stretch that window out, kind of situation there. So, and especially with the Pacers where they are in the opposite conference too, they do what's best for you. Who cares about, what it does for the Lakers? It doesn't matter to you. Like,
and Myles Turner on an expiring contract, if he's not part of the future there, you get what you can for him.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, that's going to be your conversation if you're the Pacers right now is, all right, are we moving forward with Myles Turner as part of this? I don't think so, because you just tried to do tried to get DeAndre Ayton. Sorry, I get distracted by the baseball game. You just try to get DeAndre Ayton. You didn't, and now you got to come back to Turner. And I guess your question needs to be, hey, are you willing to do any kind of extension right now for probably not anything more than about $20 million a year, a slight bump over what you make now? And if he's not, then move on and trade him and get what you can. It's not, you don't have to completely dump him. I mean, you could hold him till February and see if you get a better deal then, but you have to trade him by February because if you don't have him signed to an extension, he's not coming back.
Yeah. That's the thing with that. So I mean, you have to factor that into the value.
Right. That's the other thing. Unlike this summer where we really only had a couple teams with cap space and they were really rebuilding teams that weren't looking to add talent. Next summer, there's going to be a whole mess of teams with cap space. I just ran those projections the other day and for the first time kind of since free agency, and that I've got 11 teams with cap space. Wow. And a couple of them are teams that might be starting to look to kind of climb up the ladder a little bit, and a couple are definitely in that position. So, we're definitely going to be in a different spot next summer than we are right now, for sure.
All right, well, let's move on and let's talk a little bit about the Greek Freak, Giannis. He's going to play for Greece at Eurobasket. If you're a Bucks fan, how do you feel about this? I'd be nervous.
Yeah, I think I'm all right with it. I mean, you're always kind of nervous with any of these things. And the first time he gets fouled kind of hard or falls awkwardly, you're going to hold your breath until you see him pop back up and that he's okay. But I mean, I look at it as these guys are going to play somewhere anyway. So I don't have a huge issue if it's in controlled environments like this with their national team. No issue at all.
Sure. Yeah, and that's it. That's the part that's easy to forget is that if they're not playing there, they're playing somewhere. Mm-hmm. They're not just sitting on the couch or something like that. So the risk of injury is not zero compared to whatever it is at Eurobasket. It's whatever the risk is wherever else they're playing versus what they're doing in this competition. So,
if I'm the Bucks, I'm not going to be upset if they don't make a super deep run because it goes, I think, until the 18th. Of September. And that's really only about a week or so ahead of when guys will be rejoining their teams.
That's not good.
Yeah, September 1st to September 18th. Generally, guys will start to get back into the facility for like informal workouts and stuff about, September 25th-ish. And then training camps usually start, like a week or so later. With that, but I think it might actually be a little bit earlier this year because I think the first preseason games this year are like the beginning part of October.
Yeah, they are. I know, like the Lakers is the third, and I don't think they're the earliest ones. I know there's some earlier preseason games.
So, and I think there's a couple teams going overseas this year, or at least plan to right now. So that'll probably be a little bit different too.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Jared Vanderbilt for the Utah Jazz, drawing trade interest around the NBA. Keith, I don't know, like I understand why there's interest in him. I was impressed with him with Minnesota last year, but if you're Utah, isn't this the kind of guy that you would want to keep at just 23 years old and have as part of the future of your franchise if you are rebuilding?
Yeah, I think so. He's also on a ridiculously undervalued contract.
Yes.
It's like $4.5 million this year, and then just under $5 million next year. So next year's only partially guaranteed. But yeah, I mean, this is a guy. This is a guy who, if he sticks in Utah and there's not a whole lot else around him, he's probably going to be a double-double guy next year for sure. He's going to be a guy I'll be pumping. Go get on your fantasy teams because he's just going to pile up stats for that team. He's almost a double-double guy.
I was going to say he almost did it now. I had 8.4 rebounds and 7 points last season for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
And not very many shots, too, because he shot like 58% from the field or something ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, my guess is it's more for the Jazz. The thought is, all right, okay, is somebody going to make an insane offer for Jared Vanderbilt? Then I like it. You fixed the typo.
I missed an R in his name, and I went, I can't rob the man of an R, particularly when we're saying what a great rebounder he is.
You could have blamed it on me, and he'd be Jad Vanderbilt. There, right? It's more we drop the R's at the ends of words in the first.
That's right.
But yeah, I think it's if someone's going to say, hey, we'll give you a really good first, well, sure, then. Like, I think if you're Utah. But I'd probably just hang on to him, put him next to Walker Kessler, and see what it looks like for the year with whatever else that roster's going to be.
Yeah, indeed. And lastly, the Warriors appeared to not be interested in a trade for Kevin Durant. Not a surprise. I mean, when you're the reigning champs, and we've talked about this, that bench unit, it looks like a really good starting five for a rebuilding team, doesn't it? When you factor, Jordan Poole and Wiseman and Kuminga and Moody, you've got all these pieces that you're looking at. Dante DiVincenzo's in there now as well. That's a pretty darn good bench unit. Plus, of course, your starting five. You've already got a team that just won a championship. I understand the appeal of going and getting Kevin Durant, and there's a lot of history there, and that's got to be factored in too. How does all that come into play? Kevin Durant's, no question, an incredible player, but the Warriors aren't in a spot where they feel like they have to go get Kevin Durant in order to win. They just showed that they can win with this team as is, and they've got some young guys with upside that they should be optimistic about for the future as well. So they've got some sustainability there. So I understand why they would want to just kind of, pump the brakes on this whole situation and just say, you know what, we're good with what we've got right now.
I think it's also for the Warriors, it becomes, are we going to, right, because it would have to be Andrew Wiggins that goes in this trade, plus whatever else you're sending out, probably a couple of the kids, couple picks or something like that. And then what you're locking into is, if healthy, you're awesome, right? You're probably the best team in the league. Challenge is, Draymond Green has had injury issues several years running now. Stephen Curry's had problems a few years in a row. Klay Thompson just got back from missing 2 full seasons. Yeah. Durant has missed time each of the last 2 years after coming back from missing a full year. So I would be a little skeptical of that without really good depth. And you're probably not going to have that really good depth because you're going to have to give some of that up in the trade for Durant. Plus, you're also locking into 3 more years of big money. The Warriors are sending signs of, hey, we're kind of hitting our limit here of spending. Like, once we start pushing $400 million between salary and tax penalties, that's probably where we don't want to be at $500 million every year for this team. So I think as we look at it, this makes sense why they would stay away. And I think now too, it's how much better do we need to be? Like, we just won the championship. Maybe it'd feel differently if you'd lost, but they didn't. So, run with it. I am far more interested in seeing, do they sign Jordan Poole to an extension or not? My guess is they don't. Yeah. And then next year, are they really going to have to pick between Wiggins and Poole? I said before, a whole bunch of teams with cap space. Those teams are going to be pushing for one of those two guys, especially if Wiggins has another year like the year he just had.
Yeah. Good point. Especially given how valuable wings are in the NBA right now. that's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. And that's why, you know, we had speculated that maybe the Warriors would hang on to Otto Porter Jr. or find a way to do so that they had a Wiggins replacement already on their roster. Now, maybe you can say that's Jonathan Kuminga and he's going to be the heir apparent to Wiggins, but I think they do have to prepare for the possibility that they are without Andrew Wiggins after next summer. Yeah. Because if he has a season like he just did, I think he's getting another max deal, right?
It's going to be really close.
I mean, maybe not quite max, but I mean, it's going to be up there.
Well, let's look at it this way, right? If you're one of those teams that I said has cap space next summer, let's run through them because this is kind of our last topic for the night. So we've got a couple minutes here. So this is what I projected for cap space. Houston at about 71 million. All right. Maybe a Wiggins destination. Could maybe see that, right? See what
their young guys do. If they get some young guys to pop this year where they're like, you know what, we're not that far off. Sure.
Yep. Detroit, 63 million. All right. Could maybe see that. Not the worst idea. Indiana, they don't have a wing with real size necessarily. They're at about 47 million. San Antonio, 45, if they're looking to flip things very quickly. Utah, probably not. Orlando, probably not. Although, well, I guess Franz Wagner kind of fills that wing spot. OKC, they could maybe get into range to do a max offer. So, yeah, I mean, I think you've got guys certainly in position to make a run at Wiggins or at Poole if they wanted to.
Yeah,
I just got to the mute button in time before I sneezed. Oh, man, that sneeze was building for a minute there, too. That was a mess.
That was a good catch, though. That was a good catch. I do think that there's going to be a market for him again, just given how scarce wings are in this market, particularly two-way wings.
He's an all-star again,
Yeah, I mean, look, like for Andrew Wiggins, he's got to be a little disappointed that he's not a free agent. He wasn't a free agent this offseason. Now, I know there wasn't a lot of money out there, but given the way he just performed and then what he did in the playoffs all the way through into the finals, I mean, he would have cashed in big time. So now he's got to hope to duplicate that this next season. And if he does that, I mean, somebody's going to give him really big money next summer.
Yeah, I mean, he was easily the Warriors' second best player behind Curry in the finals. Yep. Like it's, so now you're talking all-star regular season, great playoff run. He was never as bad as people made him out to be in Minnesota either. He just was young and inefficient and didn't really know how to win. And now I think he's kind of put it all together. And yeah, I mean, he'd be just kind of going into his prime years too. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see how they make that work. Because I don't think they're going to sign both of them. Because you're talking Wiggins, $35-40 million, Poole, somewhere $30-35 million. That's a lot. And I do think they're hit a point where it's, we can't like where we're not going to go that we're not going to have, there'd be 4 guys making 30+ million plus Draymond coming. I think Draymond has a player option next year too. So that's another thing. Like, I can't see them going that deep into the tax for all of those guys.
The luxury tax is unfair.
Yeah, right.
That's what it is.
It's going to finally cost the Warriors. Yeah, I mean, and it might, right? I mean, it's not that it's unfair. It's just this is what the luxury tax is supposed to do, right? It is supposed to rebalance the playing field to a level where, hey, if you want to pay that much, it's going to be painful. And here's what it is. And I mean, we already saw it cost them Peyton and Porter, or at least one of the two, probably both of them, that they were like, we can go. Now, part of that is we got Kuminga, we got Moody, we got Wiseman, we ended up signing Dante DiVincenzo. We've got all these guys we can play instead. But yeah, I mean, this is a spot where if you're the Warriors, it is like it's all kind of coming home to roost now on the back end. And I think they're going to be very cautious. I don't think they want to be 2 years from now with a bunch of older injury prone players kind of floating around there. That is like, we're okay, but we're not really title contenders, but we pay over $500 million a year for this team. I don't think that's where they want to be.
Well, then that also means they're out on Kevin Durant, and we don't even know for sure that Kevin Durant's going to be traded. But
do you want to play your breaking news drop? It's not a big one, but it's fun.
Anytime I can play my breaking news drop. All right, here we go.
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
Since we are on the Golden State Warriors, undrafted Purdue center Trevion Williams has agreed to a deal with the Golden State Warriors. That's from Shams Charania of The Athletic. It's going to be an Exhibit 10 contract, so he's going to be coming in to compete for a roster spot with the Warriors. So that's the second guy the Warriors have signed in the last couple of days. It's now slipped my mind who the other one was. Who was it? Do you remember? Oh, Mac McClung.
Mac McClung.
Now he's getting a standard non or partial guaranteed deal. So,
right.
Williams was with Boston at Summer League. Because it's an Exhibit 10, it tells me that the Celtics were probably, we're good, considering they have 3 open roster spots on the 15-man roster right now. So my guess is the Celtics said, we're not going to move forward with a deal. So good luck to Trevion Williams. There's definitely talent there. He can pass for a big guy. He's just a little too ground bound. He's not super athletic. He doesn't have great shooting range. So, and he's a foul machine. I mean, he just fouls a ton. So, but, maybe he makes the Warriors out of camp or, converts to a two-way or hits Santa Cruz in the G League. But he's a guy who's going to be right around the fringes of the NBA.
Right. And, he was a guy that I had my eye on coming into the draft. And who knows? If it works out, great. But this is the kind of guy that you just take a shot on. And, if he can play his way through the G League or whatever and make it, then fantastic. And if not, low risk type of move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's absolutely no risk at all because Exhibit 10, so everybody knows that is completely non-guaranteed, doesn't count against the cap or the tax unless the player makes the opening night roster. And if they do, then it converts to a standard non-guaranteed contract, and then it counts towards everything as it normally would.
Right. Yep. And it does give them that little bit of incentive to stay with the organization rather than, say, go overseas or something like that.
Exactly. And we did see a handful of guys, I guess, are headed overseas. A couple more players is Ignas Brazdeikis, who played for the Magic, is headed overseas. So, that happened. A couple two-way signings, too, just so we could check them off the list. Musa Diabate, second-round pick by the Clippers out of Michigan. He signed a two-way with the Clippers. Sharif Cooper signed his two-way qualifying offer to head back to the Hawks, and Admiral Schofield signed his two-way qualifying offer to head back to the Orlando Magic.
All right, so some of those deals are starting to come through now, and we'll see where things go from here.
See if we can get a couple more bigger deals to come through.
Yeah, we're still waiting on Donovan Mitchell. We're still waiting on Kevin Durant, on Kyrie Irving, and there's some other stuff that's out there, but who knows exactly when things are going to start going down again.
Yeah, we're heading full on into NB August here pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's okay. We'll get through it. We'll get through it.
It's when we'll finish out the team reviews and we'll hit some. Then that's when we'll do an in-depth Marvel show.
That's right. That's right. Maybe we'll have to do it. I'm going to go on vacation for like a week or so. So maybe we'll have to do one right around then that we can get in the can to post while I'm on a beach.
Yeah, and I'm gonna my vacation's more gonna be here, probably in the Central Florida area, but it'll be I'm definitely gonna walk away from all this for at least a little bit because I'll start back up before we know it.
We'll need to recharge a little bit. But everybody, we appreciate you for joining us. Thank you. Make sure you do subscribe to the NBA Front Office Show. Don't forget to go check out our Clips channel as well, where you can find the shorter versions of some of our content. And, of course, rate, review, and subscribe over on Apple Podcasts. Till next time, everybody. See ya. Stay safe. Have a great weekend.